The city of Chicago owns 16 professional modern-era championships: football, basketball, baseball, and most recently a Stanley Cup title in hockey in 2010. The city pretty much has it covered. So it's awfully fitting that the 2011 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup kicks off right here in the Windy City.
The championship is going to go to Jimmy Johnson.
In sports, as in life, nothing lasts forever. Greatness gives way. Talent yields to time. And whoever fells the giant becomes a legend themselves. Will it be the brash young gun or the self-made superstar? Is it the biggest name?
Here comes Junior!
The hardest charger?
Harvick wins it!
Or the guy that no one saw coming?
Brad Keselowski, he'll do it!
Is it a champion from years past?
Jeff Gordon, NASCAR Winston Cup champion.
Or a challenger from just yesterday?
Be okay. Just make us stronger.
For 10 weeks, they will battle to be known forever as the one who broke the unbreakable streak.
I got your number. I got your number.
Unless, of course, history isn't quite ready to let go.
History, boys. No one ever.
After all, just because nothing lasts forever doesn't mean it can't last one more year.
A driver cannot succeed at the racetrack without his team, and we would not be here on Navy Pier without our team. It takes an army. Started at 7 o'clock Monday morning with 25 people. 13 hours later, NASCAR Now officially has a home for the week on Navy Pier in the city of Chicago. And thanks to Shoreline Sightseeing for the picture-perfect views. It could not be a more beautiful day in the city. And coming into our view right now is the 2004 Sprint Cup Series champion, the one and only Kurt Busch.
2011 Chase contender, Kurt Busch.
I think driver 22 serving notice earlier. He came to play.
Keep doing what you're doing, bud.
I don't know what the 22's got, but he's picking up a position about every lap or two.
Kurt Busch continues to lead the way. Kurt Busch will have led 76 of the 110 laps to win the Toyota SafeMark 350 here at Infineon Raceway.
That's what I'm talking about, guys.
Well, Kurt Busch is the only driver to have spent the entire season in the top 10 in points. He has that one win this season at Sonoma, giving him 10 straight years with a W, and this marks his 6th chase appearance, his 3rd straight. Hello there and welcome to NASCAR Now live from Navy Pier. I am Nicole Briscoe alongside the 1999 Sprint Cup Series champion, Mr. Dale Jarrett, and of course Kurt Busch, and a bevy of fans behind us. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, this is great. It's Chicago at its finest. Isn't it a beautiful day?
Perfect day. Heading into the chase, your 6th appearance, your 3rd straight, what do you feel is your team's greatest strength?
We've been solid all year, just consistency with qualifying and then getting good finishes. What we have to do a little better is what we've been doing as of late, which is solid pit stops and making the car better during the race. So we just posted 2 top 5s like they were easy, and that's what we need to do for the next 10 weeks.
Kurt, I'm sure that you and Steve Addington have looked at these 10 races and said, okay, here are our strengths, but there's a couple of racetracks I'm sure that you said we really have to focus and get a little bit better here. Everybody knows Talladega is a wild card, but have you looked at some other tracks that could give you problems?
Yeah, there's the 1.5 mile chunks, with the base of the chase, and then you have Dover mixed in. We're looking at Martinsville. That's a track that I've struggled at in the past. Talladega's a wild card, like you said. And then this year, Phoenix, they just did a fresh repave out there. I was part of the Goodyear tire test, and that track's slick right now. They're trying to find the right tire combination so that we could get out there and race 2 wide. But with the oil coming up out of the surface and the hot sun and the construction dust, it's like a skating rink right now.
Right now, that's kind of like the chase is unknown. But for you, being in the chase without a teammate is a bit of an unknown. This is your 3rd chase with Penske Racing, but you've never been in this format with a teammate in the chase with you. Brad Keselowski has had a pretty big success this year. How has his success affected your team in your preparations for these final 10?
It's been exciting to see him put himself in position with Paul Wolf to win races and to find new setup things. It's only pushed me and Steve Addington harder. Feels great to have both of us there and to put 2 Dodges. There's only 2 out on the track that are full-time. We're in the chase. So that's big news, and we're pumped up to carry that Dodge banner for the next 10 weeks. They're pushing us hard. We're pushing them. The equipment's there, ready to go.
Hey, we're talking about Brad's success, and I know he hasn't been here a long time in the Cup Series at a lot of these tracks for just as maybe the second or third time. But is he at the point, Kurt, that if they bring something or something that he tells you, you can really rely on that now?
Absolutely. It's gone both ways for a while now. And what's been great is we actually bolted his setup in at Pocono because we were out there just struggling. I mean, we finished well in the first race at Pocono, finished second. Second race, we were just off the map. Put his setup in, he won, we finished third. I mean, that's what it takes when you can rely on a teammate like that and you get good results. That's when you know it's clicking in the field right now between Paul Wolf and Steve Addington. They're just clicking on all 8 cylinders.
Your team has its individual strengths. His team has his strengths. Where do you feel that he specifically can make you better?
Well, he has that raw speed right now, and we've been doing well with finding some of those adjustments throughout the race. But where he's good is that you see his stats, like his best finish at Richmond was 35th or something before. Boom, he posts a good finish after that. When you're coming around to tracks for like your 3rd or 4th time, you find new things, and that's where I'm leaning on him to help us.
Well, the one thing that you may not know for you at home, once you make the chase, your schedule tends to get a little bit busy. And I know this morning you were at the Children's Hospital here in Chicago, one of your many activities for this week.
It's a fantastic week. I mean, when you're here in the chase, Dale Jarrett's been part of it, and when you're as a champion, NASCAR's having you do things. It really makes you feel like this is a worthwhile event when you're coming to the city to do the appearances, to go to the Children's Hospital. I mean, I was there for a couple hours, felt like 10 minutes went by just to see the kids and to start off the media. This is what it is right now. It's the chase. It's 10 weeks. It's full of excitement, and then you get to the track on Friday, and it's time to really bear down and get after it.
Just watching the video, it certainly does put things in perspective. Well, we hope you stay with us because Kurt is one of the big storylines heading into this first weekend of the chase, has been the on-track action between Kurt and 5-time Jimmy Johnson. Johnson has said a few things like this.
He's a big crybaby and wants to take shots at me when he can. He's good for running his mouth. He can keep running it. I'll shut it for him.
NASCAR Now is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Enter this code at codespotter.com for a chance to win one-of-a-kind NASCAR VIP experiences.
It's getting ugly.
They lean on one another. They make contact. Smoke is boiling between Busch and Johnson.
Words between a couple of drivers. I didn't know we were supposed to pull over when it came down to 5 to go.
I mean, I'm not going to run people over.
And he wants to come over here and bitch about it.
You remember this stuff?
Jimmy Johnson goes for a spin into the outside retaining wall. Trouble in turn number 2. Kurt Busch is around.
I got your number.
Well, imagine that.
You're going to spin me out, I'm going to spin you out.
You can see it coming.
I'm sure I'll go find him and talk to him, and he'll run his mouth.
He's got to learn to race.
The thing I did wrong is I didn't wreck him hard enough to tear up his car like he did in mine.
I'm going to beat him fair and square with my Penske Dodge.
Well, Jimmy Johnson may not be a fan of the 22, but we have some fans of Kurt Busch here today, joining us live for NASCAR Now on Navy Pier. I think, Kurt, you're going to have to sign some autographs when we let you go here today. We obviously just saw video of a few incidents.
Is this WWF? I mean, is this boxing? I mean,
I was going to ask you that.
We're getting in the octagon.
What is going on between you and Jimmy Johnson?
You know, it's just a genuine rivalry of two guys that are pouring their heart out on the track to try to get the best finish for their team. And whether it's Pocono or whether it was there again at Richmond, you know, we got to get that out of our system, and I think we have. I mean, we don't need wrecked race cars, but yet we need to put on a show. We need to be out there racing and putting those donuts on the door and putting on a show for our fans to buy those tickets in the grandstands to root on their favorite driver. No matter if it's 48 or the 22, there's so many guys out there that are pushing hard for their teams every week. That's what we want to see.
What we just saw were the on-track incidents between you and Jimmy Johnson on the track at Richmond. It kind of carried over for you in the media center with some people afterwards. I want you to take a look at this.
Sure.
Commissioner Fryer had commented on a quote, a little incident there. You went outside. It got much talked about in the days since we left Richmond. We know that you had a phone call to Jenna and Joe Menzer yesterday, but there was obviously some sort of carryover effect. What is your mindset?
Well, for us, we have the next 10 weeks to focus on with the championship, and we're on offense. We're not going to be playing defense, worrying about what happened there. I mean, to me, I had a great race at Richmond. We overcame adversity after being dumped by the 48. We had a flat tire during the race. We had a well-documented spring race at Richmond. I got out of the car, and I'm like, wow, we finished 5th. We came a long way in a short amount of time at Richmond, and I thought that's what I was going to get to talk about. And instead, it just got turned into the whole riffraff of all the video clips that we just saw. And I'm like, really? We had a great regular season. We had 26 races with our Shell Pennzoil Dodge that I thought we were going to get to talk about and celebrate where we are with this season. And that's what they wanted to talk about. And I'm like, you know, we have gotten into too much paparazzi with our reporting. I want to go and talk about racing. So that's where it turned into. Obviously, I was in the wrong, and I talked to him afterwards. And when I see her, I'll give her a big hug on Friday and talk to Joe Menzer and, you know, shake his hand and say, hey, we're here to help you guys do your job. Help me do my job.
Be the Kurt Busch, Jennifer Fryer Schmoot Fest.
We won't push it too far.
It was an amazing finish. When I looked up and saw you up there in the top 5 battling there at the end, I was like, wow, how could this be possible with everything you had gone through? But let's talk about you and Jimmy Johnson. 2 champions of this sport. Will you talk about it, or is this just 2 champions that know we can't bring this into the chase, or neither one of us are going to benefit?
Yeah, you know it better than anybody on how you have to approach the final few weeks to be a champion. You can't have the enemies out on track. You want to have more friends than enemies. So him and I, we're going to continue to race door to door and put on a good show. And it's a matter of when one of us steps over that line and taking an inch instead of giving an inch, that's when you're going to see the 2 cars come together. But we both know to win a championship, you can't focus on one guy. You got to worry about the other 11 out there.
But how important is it to stand your ground, make a point, and stand there?
Well, to me, you got to race hard every week, and you have to be consistent. And to put together good, solid finishes, you don't need the issues brewing over.
Well, speaking of good, solid finishes, there's been a lot of talk the last couple of years. The theory is you are allowed 1 mulligan in the chase. With the new point system the way it is right now, do you think that theory can still survive?
It can if you can back it up with race wins. But to me, consistency is important. But now you go down to Homestead, and let's just say you're 4 points out of the lead, or you're 8 points ahead of one guy. If you have a 15th place finish, you drop so far down in points with this new point system. So Homestead is single-handedly the most important race. But you got to put yourself in position the first 9 weeks.
You got to get there. Kurt Busch, thanks so much for joining us today. Good luck to you this
Absolutely.
weekend.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Have a great
Well,
chase.
the last guy into the chase was also one of the first guys a season ago to make a big splash. We're talking about Denny Hamlin. He will come up next, and guess what? Denny also has a pretty important tie to a pretty big sports figure in this city. We're talking Michael Jordan next on NASCAR Now, live from Navy Pier. Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup kicks off this weekend in Chicago. Action starts from Chicagoland Speedway with the Sprint Cup Series practice, 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Then Saturday afternoon, the Nationwide Series goes green at 3 Eastern on ESPN2. And then, of course, on Sunday, the green flag drops on the Chase. Coverage kicks off at 1 Eastern with NASCAR Countdown on ESPN. Now here's a fresh take on what has happened the past few years, because drivers who have finished second to Jimmy Johnson haven't exactly fared all that well the following season. Case in point, look at what has happened this season to Denny Hamlin so far. He was the last driver into this year's chase.
Fresh Take is brought to you by Subway. Try September's featured $5 footlong, turkey breast, and Black Forest ham.
2011 Chase contender, Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin wasting no time, heading for the head of the pack.
After that thing today, this is your day.
Denny Hamlin with his first win of 2011 in Michigan. And the monkey is officially off their back. Denny Hamlin with his first win of the season.
That's what I'm talking about. Denny Hamlin, FedEx team is back.
Denny Hamlin won a series-high 8 races in 2010 and finished second in points. This year, he'll appear in his 6th straight chase and joins Jimmy Johnson as the only driver to never miss the chase in any of his full seasons in Sprint Cup Series competition. NASCAR Now is live from Navy Pier in Chicago all week, and joining us now is Denny Hamlin. You gave everyone, including your team, quite the scare. There was a collective, oh my, when before lap 10 on Saturday night, you were in pit road with a busted-up race car. What was going on?
Oh my gosh, just like all my race fans were thinking, oh no, here we go again. But I I just felt so good about our race car going into that race. Me and Mike spent hours thinking about the changes that we were going to make on race day. We made them, and I could tell in the first few laps, I was like, wow, this thing's going to be pretty good. So unfortunately, it just got in the wreck. I think Junior bounced off someone else, hit us, and then got into 33, and it was kind of like a pinball effect. So I couldn't believe we made the comeback we had with the damage. And Mike, you heard it over the radio, said if the shock mount's bent, we got some big problems. Well, it was destroyed. So we managed to finish the day, adjusted on. The crew did the best job I've ever seen them do as far as getting their composure, fixing our car, and we got a top 10. We were battling. We were one of the best cars at moments during that race.
Yeah, it was only 17 pit stops later you were able to drive into the top 10. So
yeah,
it's an amazing deal. Denny, last year, going into the chase, one of the favorites, obviously, because of the season you'd had to that point, ran it right to the very end. This year, not so much. Assess your chances to us right now.
I love the position we're in. We're in the underdog position at this point. Last year, there's a lot of pressure that goes on along with being the favorite, being the dominant car during the regular season. We weren't that this year. We won one race. The reason we were in the position we're in is not necessarily because we were running 15th or 20th every week. We had some problems. Driver made a few errors, and next thing you know, we're on the brink of not making the playoffs. But I can tell you that we're at least gaining momentum at the right time, and I like our position of flying under the radar at this point.
What did you learn in last year's chase when you were so close that can carry over now?
I need to have a little more fun in the chase. I took things so seriously and took it as when I had a bad day, I let those emotions carry over. Homestead was a prime example, just trying absolutely too hard because of the mistake that we had last week or the week before that with the fuel mileage and whatnot, and just I never got over it. And just so this year, playing the underdog role, I'm going to have more fun and just see how it goes.
Well, he's going to have more fun in the chase, and we're going to have some fun when we come back. There are some Denny Hamlin fans behind us. They're going to ask their questions, and we'll take a shot at you again, too. More next from Navy Pier. It's NASCAR Now, live from Chicago. Now is back with an hour-long special live from Navy Pier here in Chicago. We'll be joined by a third of this year's chase field, including the two top seeds, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Two-time Sprint Cup Series champion Tony Stewart will also stop by, and some guy by the name of Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's tomorrow live from Chicago at 2:30 Eastern. If you are in the area, please come out and join us like those fans did. And oh, by the way, the track is giving away tickets, just extra incentive to join our broadcast here from Navy Pier. Denny Hamlin is with us. We have some Twitter questions for you. We allowed our fans to jump in. Our first question, though, what major adjustments do you feel you and Mike Ford need to make in order to win the championship this year?
Major adjustments, I can't say that we need really any. I think we need to just get a little bit more speed like we had last year. Other than that, I mean, just everything's been pretty good here lately. Lately as in the last month. So I think that we're just a few small adjustments away from being right there.
Are you satisfied? I know you made the engine change to the TRD stuff. Are you satisfied that that was the right move for you and your team to make?
Well, we were at a point where we couldn't afford any more DNFs, to be honest with you. And we know Joey blew up in Richmond. If that was our engine and they just get randomly picked, then never know what could have happened. Biffle goes up there and wins a race. We're out. There's a couple different scenarios. The thing that paid off for us is the sense is we didn't have any mechanical failures since we switched to TRD. But what we're going to really rely on everyone at JGR for is building up the horsepower in those TRD engines. And I think that us kind of getting a jump start on that this year will help with our next year program.
Well, our next question is another Twitter question. Pokey Little Dog wants to know, this is for Dale, if you think the Johnson-Kurt Busch feud will continue in these final 10 races.
I think they better not if either one of these drivers think they're going to win the championship. You know, you can have a feud, but you can't take it on track. What you're going to have to do is make sure that you can race good and hard. We want to see that, Danny, but these guys can't take that and wreck each other and have a chance to win.
Well, I agree with you. We saw it last year with me and Kevin and those guys. It lasted a couple races, and it is a distraction. We overcame it and still put ourselves in a position to win a championship, but it didn't make our job any easier.
Next one is for you. Dale said earlier that he thinks that this championship is wide open, and that's what Kane Francis 4 wants to know. Do you think that this year's winner can come from anyone within the field?
Absolutely. With the way races are being played out nowadays, with fuel mileage, the strategies, the crew chiefs are just as important as the drivers at this point. We never know what's going to happen. All these paybacks and things like that, you never know if you're going to end up in a wreck. It's just, I agree with Dale. It's totally wide open at this point.
Yeah, I think that some of these other 31 that are being in the race can have a big factor on who's going to win this championship and how many points you might get week to week just because of taking those chances.
You're talking guys outside the chase, but
yes.
Like teammates, for example. Joey Logano.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, it's good to have teammates both in and out of the chase.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last question. We know you're good friends with Michael Jordan. You wear his emblem on your suits. This one is wanting to know if all 6'6" of Michael Jordan was able to climb into a race car, and if he were a NASCAR driver, how do you think he would stack up against the all-time greats? Personally, I'd just like to see it. Him and Brad Doherty. Let's stuff him into two cars.
Well, I think we saw Shaq try it at one point, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he didn't fare too well, but it's a total different beast. Trust me, you would have to start right at the beginning. But I'm sure he's a good enough athlete, has good enough hand-eye coordination. If he started young enough, he'd be just fine.
Denny Hamlin, thanks very much for joining us today. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're going to let Denny Hamlin go, sign some autographs for the fans behind us. NASCAR Now is here on Navy Pier all week long. We've got the fans. We've got the special thanks, too, for this amazing view. Thanks to Navy Pier and Shoreline Sightseeing for the perfect views of Lake Michigan today. We are back tomorrow for an hour-long special edition of NASCAR Now. Like we said, we'll be joined by Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Kyle Busch, the #1 seed in this year's chase. We'll see you tomorrow at 2:30.
box over here.
The city of Chicago owns 16 professional sports titles in the modern era, so it's softly fitting. I kind of slipped. I really want to claw my eyes out right now with the wind and the hair.